Well, what a summer we're having so far, automotively speaking. We've not only done work on our own vehicles, we've driven a tank down at the Bicester Heritage Centre. We've gone back to experience Speedway for the first time in a long time, and it was excellent. And lastly, but definitely not least, you can stick your Ferraris, you can stick your Lambos. Channeling my inner Ken Miles, Ford GT40 was something else. Now, that was at the Bicester Heritage Centre again, run by a company called Car Chase Heroes. I'm going to talk about that day and that event. I've got some footage to show you, and I'll also talk about my incident. So, before we actually take a look at the day itself and some footage, you turn up there, you're directed to a car parking spot, and then you try and find somewhere to sign in. You're not told where to go by the people parking you. You have to go and try and find your own way. We ended up in the media truck. That wasn't the right place, so you're directed to a man who's sat under a tree at a park bench, essentially, keeping out the sun. But there's no sign or anything, so it could have done with a sign or one of those standing up flags with sign in or check in here. You sign a bit of paper. You're asked if you've paid for the waiver, which in my case was £29, which we will come to. And then you're shown the office inside a building where you're then talked through what's going to happen by a lady sat there who then also tries to sell you some stuff. Now, that is a reoccurring theme of the day, and we will talk about that. So, job done. I've also paid for 2 sighting laps. No idea what that meant. So I go and wait at a blue flag and wait to be directed as to what that means. So here I am stood at the blue flag. Sighting laps, all they mean is you get taken round in a BMW 330 and the guy shows you the corners and the apexes and stuff like that. A couple of times round, we come back in. So at this point, I'm going to say something that may sound slightly stupid, slightly obvious, but it needs saying. This venture, when you go to these days, is about wringing as much cash out of you as they possibly can. Now, I know that sounds daft to say. It's what I or you would do ourselves. But for instance, as soon as that aerial atom is stood still, they're on the microphone. Special offer today. You can get a couple of hot laps being driven around. You can drive it yourself. I think it was 40 quid. It was actually quite good value. 40 quid, you can do 3 laps in it yourself and get a hot lap. There were all sorts of offers on the day. And if any car was stood still for any moment of time, they're on the microphone. There's an offer. Get someone in the car and get that car going around the track. Fair enough. You excited enough?
Yeah. Last time when I went in the other atom, my head went there. Going to the Ford, watching that. We're gonna wait for him. When he was driving, he's like, tap my elbow if you want to go slow. And then in my head, I was like, what? No.
So I go out for my first couple of laps, and while I'm going round for the first 2 laps, let's talk about this waiver. So you don't have to pay for the waiver. It's an insurance waiver, apparently. So if you damage the car, you don't have to stump up a maximum of £5,000 to help fix the car. And if you don't take out the waiver, you have to leave an imprint of your card to show that you've got £5,000 if anything happens. Now, I don't know how this works, and I don't know what insurances they need or have to have to run this event, and they're very expensive cars. But going around that track, there's a lot of grass. There's not a lot to bump into. Other cars, granted. There's not a lot of damage you can do to those cars. So I just wonder whether the 29 quid waiver is just another way of wringing some cash out of you. I'd love to know how many cars they've had to actually fix because they've been damaged. So Dadskillz did a bit of a naughty. So I'm booked in for 6 laps and I had to come in after 2. And do you know why? It's because I gave it the beans going round this tight right-hander. It sends you back up the straight to where they're all parked and all the rest of it. Well, I'm not used to 500 horsepower and rear-wheel drive. So I go around this corner and I just floor it. And before I know it, this car has spun round and the guy next to me says, "Oh, wow, that was far too much power. You were far too early." And I know, and it was fantastic. So obviously at this point, I need to bollock him. So he says, "We've got to go back, park up. We need to check the car over and we need to see whether we'll let you out again." Now, this bit was hilarious. So we trundle back and my heart is racing because it was fantastic. We get back into, let's call it Parc Fermé, why not? And a guy comes over and I have to be patronised like a 6-year-old. And he comes over and the door opens and the guy sat next to me says, "Oh, we've had to come back in early. He span it." And the guy's like, "Oh, he span it? Wow." And then we talk through what happened and he goes, "You do realise you've got 500 brake horsepower of racing engine, Ford racing engine V8. Yeah, I know what happened and why." Then he turns to my instructor and he says, "Well, what do you think? Should we let him go back out again? He's got 4 laps left." And the guy says, "Well, yeah, I think it's going to be okay." It was hilarious. It was like being told off like a little kid, and I'm a 40-odd-year-old bloke. I know what I did. I know what I did wrong, and it was fantastic, and I'd love to do it again. But we go out, 4 more laps, and it's such a shame. There's no actual camera in the car. There's nowhere to put it, whereas on the other cars, they've got cameras. But sadly, I didn't get any footage of it, or me driving around. All the only footage I've got is what my daughter took when she was stood at the trackside. So we go around for 4 more laps, and I get faster and faster on the way round, but still taking it so easy through corners, just blasting it on straights. Such a powerful car, and I've never driven anything that powerful before.
No, that's the side cam.
So we pull in, and on my bit of paper that you get, your little certificate-y type thing, a fine drive, not too early on the power, it says. So how cool is that? So yeah, my driving experience is over, and now it's time to spend some more money. So you can book in for more cars if you want to, and looking on the website at the moment, it says the prices are about £49 per car, and then it goes up and down and all sorts of things you can add to it. My wife by this time was sick of me, so it was time to come home, and we had like a 100-mile journey to come home. So I wanted the pictures, and this is when I found out there's no camera on the vehicle itself, which is fine. It is what it is, but there's cameras all the way around, and I get 30 pictures for 25 quid. So my wife has already bought the experience. I've spent another 29 quid on the waiver. I've spent, I think it was 20 odd quid for the 2 sighting laps, 20 or 30 quid. And I've also spent another 25 quid on some pictures. So it's an expensive day. And so you get there at 10:30, and what they tell you is in the bump is that you might be waiting for 2.5, 3 hours. So what have they got on site? They've got the catering on site. So it's all very clever, but it's all designed to wring some cash out of you. And then, funnily enough, my wife overheard a conversation between 3 of the dudes who were running it. They were talking about, yeah, next year we're going to do ponchos. If it's wet, we can make an absolute killing. We're going to do unbranded umbrellas or branded this and branded that. As long as you go into it knowing that, you know what to expect. They got some nice cars there. They had a Ferrari, which didn't really float my boat. A Lambo. The Audi R8 sounded fantastic, and they had a Skyline, they had a GT86 and stuff, so they had some interesting cars there. So let me know in the comments below, have you done one of these days? What did you think? What is your dream car? What would you like to have a go in? So that's it from the Dadskillz car channel today. I think our summer odyssey of automotive adventure is finally come to an end, and now we're back to the nitty gritty of brake pads, gear stick gaiters, and handbrake gaiters maybe next. I've also been sent something by Top Don, which is quite exciting. That will probably be my next video. So, thank you for watching. If you've liked what you've seen today, do consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and then we've also got channel memberships available too. But until next time, I will see you again. Goodbye.